A socially awkward employee and her new boss end up stranded on a tropical island, where the hierarchy of power is about to change. This is the latest film from Sam Raimi, so expect a sense of humour with the thrills. Join us as we discuss Send Help. Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
We're not in the office anymore, Peter.
Where are we?
Podcasting.
I didn't realize that was a location, but okay. Aren't you literally in your home office?
I guess you could call it an office.
Well, what else would you call it?
I call it a multi-purpose room.
Very good. This is a horror movie podcast, everyone. We get together to talk about a horror movie we watched, and today we are catching up on a movie from earlier this year by the name of Send Help, directed by one Sam Raimi, which admittedly, right, but just to get this out of the way, it's only tangentially horror. It's not like a full-on horror movie. It's more like a slow burn comedic thriller that has a bit of horror towards the end, but it's not like a huge amount of it.
No, I would disagree. I would definitely classify this as a horror movie. Like, I mean, I'm not going to say every single, like, frame is horror, but I think there's enough horror sequences that's the best way to categorize it.
The survival thrillers, maybe more what I would say, but, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. We're here, right? You wanted to do it. You wanted to, I assume, glaze your boy Sam Raimi, so we'll see what we can do. So we'll start spoiler free as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get into the spoilers. And if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, hit the like button, helps out a bunch if you do. And you can support us and get bonus stuff over at Patreon. But I'll tell you more about that at the end of the episode. So yeah, this is about a pair of characters who get stranded on a deserted island after a plane crash. And one being Rachel McAdams' character, Linda Liddell, who is this kind of hard-working but kind of timid and pushed over at her job. And the other is her young new boss, who doesn't like her very much and is kind of already overlooked her for a promotion. And that's kind of, so there's a bit of tension between them already. And then they're stranded in this very extreme situation. And tensions rise. I'll leave it there. We'll save everything else for spoilers. But yes, eventually there will be a bubbling of tension leading to possibly some violent events. So, did you see this earlier in the year, Tim?
Yeah, this is actually my third time watching it. 'Cause I saw it, of course, when it came out. I mean, I'm not going to miss, a new Raimi flick. So I believe me and my wife had a date night where we went to see it, and then I think a few days later, a couple of my friends were going to see it in 4DX, and I'm not the biggest fan of 4DX, but every now and again, it's a fun enough outing with like friends and stuff. And I especially heard that I feel like when people talk about 4DX, there's the ones that are like, yeah, it doesn't really feel like it was made with this in mind. They kind of just slapped down a few things here and there or whatever, but I think I'd heard people saying that oh no, they really took some care to kind of do this one properly, and it's actually a pretty fun experience. So I saw it that way as well, which again, not the way I want to experience every movie, but I had a fun time doing it with this one, especially things like the plane crash sequence and stuff like that was really fun, and you could see how that was kind of made for that.
Could smell the ocean.
So yeah, exactly. No, I don't believe they pumped in tuna fish smells at any point, but that would have been good.
I've never seen that movie in 4DX. I don't know how far I'd have to travel to get the privilege, but I can't say I'm itching to try it that much, to be honest.
It's very gimmicky, and it's again, it's not something I'd want to do for every movie, but especially as like a first time viewing, like I feel like it would have to be a movie that I've seen and I like and is fun that I can then go again. And,
Yeah, I don't think I'd want it for a new movie. I think I'd be more inclined to go and do it with like Jaws or something like that. Something that I've seen a million times, and it's just adding a bit of pep on top for the shenanigans, perhaps.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I do gotta say though, as I'm getting older, like, I do feel like, all right, maybe like I won't do this that often, anymore. Like again, it'll be a rare, for the rare movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it before this viewing. I mean, like, let's just get this out of the way. I'm not a huge Sam Raimi fan. Now, I like the Evil Dead movies, right? Evil Dead movies, very, very good. Most other Sam Raimi movies, I think, range from mediocre to downright bad. So,
Such a wrong opinion.
Right? Simple Plan's not bad, actually. That's probably the best one I've seen outside of
Simple Plan rules.
Right?
Yeah.
But his movie called The Gift is like laughably bad. That movie's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, no rebuttal for that one.
Really defend that one. I mean, I absolutely adore Sam Raimi. I honestly, he's one of my favorite filmmakers. I think he rules. He still has the juice. But I mean, I'm not. I'm not. I don't get blinded. By these things. Like I'll call out, stuff that's bad. Like I think Crime Wave is like a really interesting idea, but it didn't really work for me. And then I agree. The Gift is not good. What's the baseball one? Is it The Natural or something?
Oh God, I don't know. I've never seen it. Whoever it is, I've never seen it.
I thought that was like extremely boring. I do not care for that one. But I mean, all three Evil Deads are bangers. Darkman, I kind of want to like it a bit more than I do. Like I don't think it's bad. I think it has, like some people really love it, and I think there's cool parts to it, but it doesn't completely win me over. I feel like they've been talking about like a reboot for a while, which I actually think could be kind of interesting. But the Quick and the Dead I think is awesome, and I know we'll probably disagree on this, but I love all three Spider-Man movies. I think they're all phenomenal. Like the first two especially being great, and then the third one is definitely a mess, but I think it's actually a lot better than most people give it credit for. And then I know we differ on Drag Me to Hell, but I love Drag Me to Hell.
Poop.
But then no, wrong. But then I mean, Oz Great and Powerful. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna.
I forgot about that one.
Defend that.
I forgot about that one. Oh God, I had raised that from my memory. Do you want a really shitty remake of Army of Darkness, which is the same plot but with all the fun removed? Yeah, there you go. Oz the Great and the Powerful.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's maybe like a sequence or two in there I find kind of fun, but overall, just it doesn't work. And then I kind of like Doctor Strange. Like I mean, I think there's some cool Raimi-isms in it, but it does feel like he's being hampered down by the whole MCU-ness of it all.
The second one specifically, obviously, because the first one's Scott Derrickson.
Yeah, which we are not fans of. So I will gladly take the second Doctor Strange over the first one any day of the week. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I am a fanboy, but I'll admit he has had some that I'm not too crazy about. But going into this though, I was excited because it has been a while since he's done a movie, and it was nice to see like he's still kind of going back to his roots, doing like a more like a smaller horror thriller-ish kind of thing. So this had me pretty excited.
Well, let's not belabor the anticipation here, I suppose. Tim, if you would like to just confirm that you like this movie that you've now seen 3 times, and then I can lay in with my feelings.
I mean, I guess I wasn't being too coy about it. I absolutely love this. I think it's such a blast. I think Raimi, again, he's still got the juice. He's done something here that's like super fun. There's a lot of his his signature moves are in it, which going into it I didn't really know like, okay, this is an interesting idea, but like, yeah, how is this, necessarily going to fit into the style? And surprisingly, I think, it fits perfectly well, especially like, there's some really standout, horror sequences, action sequences, whatever you want to call them, that he does really well. It's super fun. And I find, the I don't know if you call it chemistry or whatever, but the two main leads like really play off each other. I forget the actor that does the boss, but he is such a smarmy jerk, but it's like so fun to watch, especially when he's getting his comeuppance. But I don't know, I think the performance is played in like a really like fun and interesting way. Like he's not necessarily like the kind of like evil boss that's like, oh, I want to eat babies and burn the world or whatever, but like just the way he does like a lot of these very like dismissive kind of like jerky things, it's just played really well. And then same thing with Rachel McAdams as Linda Little. I think she's like kind of an annoying, off-putting character, but in like a fun, lovable way. Like I can totally see why some people might not want to spend time with her, even if they are like definitely overly mean to her. But again, I think it's like a fun, sympathetic character. And then just seeing how the dynamics shift when they're on the island is a lot of fun. And I think it finds like new and interesting ways to like kind of up what they're doing and everything. I'm not going to say that it's perfect. There's definitely like some faults here and there that we can criticize, but I think it's just a blast. I had a really fun time with it, and even on my third viewing, which obviously it's been a couple of months now since the last time I saw it, but even seeing it for the third time this year, I still had fun with it, and I was still happy with it. So obviously that's a big thumbs up for me.
It's okay. I mean, I don't have that much enthusiasm for it. It's got some like Sam Raimi for some reason loves people either vomiting or spitting up blood on people, and I have no time for it. I don't care. I'm not impressed. I'm just not impressed. It's not that funny.
Oh, I mean, you make it sound like that's like the whole movie.
Well,
like,
no, but
really like
I'm just
one specific part.
But like it's like it's his shtick, and he always goes back to the well. That's all I'm saying. He always goes back to like I think it's okay. It's an okay movie. I think that the characters, particularly Rachel McAdams' character Linda, is almost just a little too cartoony for me to really enjoy the character. Like I think someone who felt a little more realistic, I think her story I would enjoy it more. But she's such a caricature of like the type of person she's supposed to be that it just, I don't know. It feels like a movie character who's like 30 years like late or something. Like it feels like a character I'd expect to see in the 90s or the 80s. And I thought that was very distracting. And especially since it's like, hey, like look at how ugly and off-putting she is. And I'm like, it's still Rachel McAdams. Like there's only, you could add a few pimples and a pair of glasses, but it's not like suddenly turning her into, well, I'm not going to insult anyone, but it's not going to turn her into the Grinch, okay? So
that famous ugly, the Grinch.
Yes, he is ugly. I feel confident in saying that the Grinch is an ugly toad. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. I think it's a bit overlong, right? It's almost 2 full hours.
I'll agree. Yeah, it could be smidgened up.
It could be cut down quite comfortably to 90 minutes without losing much of note. I think, honestly, for me, though, I think the big thing is just, outside of Evil Dead, Sam Raimi's sense of humor, I just don't think clicks with me all that much. Like, a lot of the stuff, like I say, the characterization, McAdams' character, a lot of the more gross out stuff whenever it gets to it, whether that be tuna salad on the side of the mouth, or the more like the vomity stuff or whatever it may be. I never really found myself enjoying it all that much. I was kind of just like, okay, yeah, get out your system, Sam. It was kind of how I felt. So I'm lukewarm. I'm lukewarm at best. I don't feel particularly strongly on the movie. I'm sorry to say.
Boo. You just have no joy in your life. Like, you just gotta like sit back and just let the man take you for a ride. Like, thing is, he definitely has like, yeah, a style and things, you know, he likes to go back to, but I think that's part of his charm. And, you know, I mean, part of the reason why, you know, someone might want to go see his stuff or get excited for it. And I mean, if you don't like that stuff and it doesn't vibe for you, you know, there's not really much you can do. But I don't know. I think, you know, he handles it really well. Like, to me, like, I can see the same sense of humor in this movie that as I do in, you know, Drag Me to Hell or Spider-Man or Evil Dead. And yeah, again, if that doesn't click with you, there's not much you can do about it. But I don't know. I impressed like the way that, you know, I feel like I still see his, you know, like style and sense of humor and the things that he brings to the table. But, you know, and again, we might, you know, disagree on this, but like, it doesn't feel repetitive to me. Like, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm seeing the same sensibility, but it's not just like redoing like the same exact joke I've seen in like every one of his movies or whatever. Like, a lot of the characters and the jokes and stuff feel familiar, but not like, you know, just a copy and paste of something he's done before.
I don't know if my complaint is even repetitive. I think the point is that I just don't find it very amusing, and therefore I'm groaning whenever it comes up. Because, like, obviously I like Evil Dead, it works in Evil Dead, but it is worth mentioning that I tend to skew towards Evil Dead 1 over 2 and 3, because I like when it was a bit more serious versus the more... And I don't know, I like Evil Dead 2 and 3 a lot, but like, it's not... I definitely skew towards the more horror-leaning one of the bunch that has the least silly stuff in it. And I think a lot of the silly stuff that does work in Evil Dead 2, I think a big part of that is Bruce Campbell. I think Bruce Campbell has kind of this weirdly appealing cheeseball quality to him, and the way he can deliver stuff that actually makes the sense of humor that Raimi tries to put forth work. Like, it really is a match made in heaven. Whereas almost any time he ever tries to have anyone else do that kind of stuff, or anytime he tries to insert that humor into something else with different characters or a different story, I almost always just find myself feeling, oh, this doesn't click, and I just don't like the tone. And it's hard to get over that, because it's just, you know, the tone's kind of always there. It's always something that's present. So, you know, and like, I guess in some ways as well, like, you know, I could kind of see where some of the turns were going to be in the movie. Like, and I'm not saying it's superly predictable, but just the sense that it, like, at certain points I was kind of just waiting for, like, okay, I'm waiting for this bit to happen, because I could feel it coming for a while. So I don't know, like I don't want to say it's a bad movie, because it's not a bad movie. It's very competent. It's very, you know, well put together. It knows the tone and style that it wants to be. I just don't necessarily like that tone and style all that much.
You know, it's kind of funny because, like, I agree with what you're saying. Like, him and Bruce Campbell are just, yeah, this, like, the perfect pair. And, you know, he really pulls off, like, the, you know, humor that Raimi is going for. But, like, again, I agree that in other movies, even ones that I like, the, you know, main characters don't always necessarily capture that as well. Like, again, I'm a big fan of Drag Me to Hell, but I really don't like the main character that much in it. Was it Allison Lohman or something?
I don't remember the main character of Drag. I remember Justin Long's in it. I couldn't tell you anything about the characters though.
Yeah, he's fine, but yeah, I mean, I don't, yeah, I didn't necessarily care for that actress that much. And then I think it turns out she's also like a, you know, not politics wise the best person. So I don't, you know, feel too bad. saying that I don't really care for her. But I mean, I still like the movie. But yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, that was a case where it didn't click. But I actually think that Rachel McAdams and I think Dylan O'Brien was the name of the main guy.
Yeah. Now, I know sometimes that name, the way he spelled it, is pronounced O'Brien, but that might just be an Irish thing.
Okay.
He might just be,
okay.
for him, it might just be O'Brien. I actually don't know. But I know there's some Irish people who have that spelling who pronounce it O'Brien, but because it's an E instead of an A, so which is why.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had, like, growing up, I've had people with that last name that's been O'Brien, but obviously, very different in the States than, Ireland proper. So, apologies, to Dylan if I'm mispronouncing it. But I actually thought that they, like, captured, that kind of manic Raimi quality, like, very well. Like, obviously, if, Bruce was younger, I could see him very easily fitting, into this role. And again, like, he just has, Dylan, his character, which was it Bradley? Was that the name?
The main guy's name? Yeah, Bradley Preston was his name.
Yeah, like, he's just, like, such, like, a smarmy, like, asshole, which I feel like has, like, a very Bruce Campbell quality to him, and then the same with, like, Rachel McAdams, like, kind of on the opposite spectrum. I feel like she kind of plays up, like, kind of like the cheesiness or dorkiness that like Bruce might play, like, a little bit in the movies, I guess, before he kind of became, like, the super badass, like, as the series goes on. But I don't know, I thought they were really good casting choices that really fit Raimi's qualities, I guess, that he was looking for, which I don't know, I think that's definitely one of the reasons why it makes the movie so enjoyable, is I just had fun watching them.
Yeah, that's fair. I like I said, I found her character to be cartoon at the start. Now, that wasn't as much of a problem once it got into the meat of the island stuff, because obviously things change a little bit once you get there. Dylan O'Brien, he is, he's good at doing the slightly smarmy guy. I've seen him do that in a few movies now, and he's fine in that role for sure. I mean, maybe he's typecast, but I almost feel like I always see him play some kind of variation on this type of character, which is maybe why he was cast in the first place. So, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it tries to set up some various, like, breadcrumbs for later. It's like, okay, so there's a knife involved, so that's going to become an issue of, like, who's got the knife, and is someone lying about something? Is someone, trying to, whatever. There's lots of little things that you can sort of tell or set up for later, early on in the island stuff, which, I think works well. It does, nothing feels like it comes out of nowhere, right? Everything feels like it is appropriately set up, so nothing feels like completely out of left field. And if one or two things technically are, they're kind of supposed to be, like, fun reveals or whatever it is. So I don't know. I don't know. This is like such a hard one for me to review properly, to be honest, because I just feel so indifferent towards it, and I don't really have much of a reason beyond I just don't really get the Sam Raimi, like, sense of humor and style, right, outside of Evil Dead. I just don't. Yeah, it's fine.
That's fine. It's like, it's not a crime to have bad taste, You
shut your face. How dare you? Yeah. So I honestly, like, the lead actors I think are doing everything that's asked of them. Danny Elfman did the score. I wouldn't say I really noticed it all that much. Would you say it was memorable?
A little bit. Like, I wouldn't say I'm walking around the house humming the tune, but, like, I kind of recognized I guess, as I was, like, watching this for the third time, like, there are some instances where the music popped up where I was like, oh, okay, that's, like, I kind of, recognize that. I guess, like, the main one for me is there's kind of like not so much when there's, like, a big actiony thing or whatever, but there's some, like, kind of dreamy, like, music when, I don't know, like when they're just kind of like on the beach or whatever, and it's almost like a little, I don't know how to describe it, but I guess just kind of like dreamy tropical kind of sound, which I feel like works for the movie. So yeah, I would say, it's not bad, but yeah, maybe not like a breakout score or anything.
I mean, otherwise, like, obviously, it's not a movie with, like, there's a couple of notable moments where there has to be some effects, and I think some of it holds up quite well. Mm-hmm. There is a CG animal at one point that I do think sticks out as being overly CG.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost unavoidable, but it's if you're going to do that type of scene, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, again, I love Raimi, but I think probably one criticism, like a criticism I feel like you could have against him is, like some of the CG in the movies doesn't always hold up, very well. Like Spider-Man stuff's probably, the most, CG heavy stuff, and at the time it all looked great, but if you look back at it now, not all of it holds up super well. And then in here it's just like a few sequences, but some of the CGI is not the best, but it's a fun enough scene where like it doesn't bother me too much, because like the other stuff that's going on is fun enough that it doesn't like ruin it for me or anything. But I will say, it does remind me of another scene from another movie with that same animal that we talked about earlier, either this year or like last year.
I know exactly what movie you're talking about. Yeah.
I'd say much better in this one, I would say. But
I don't really have much else to say before we get into spoilers. So is there anything else you want to add before we do?
Well, let's get to it.
All right. In that case, spoilers for Send Help. You have been warned. So, I honestly, like, I think the whole movie, I was kind of saying, okay, she's going to end up being the villain, right? That's my feeling. It just feels like it's going that way. But the funny thing is that I was having that thought before we even got to the island, and to the point where I was almost speculating before everything happened that if she was going to cause it, because she was obsessed with survival stuff, and she has like survival books and like how to survive in the wilderness, and she's watching Survivor. Like, I almost thought she was going to cause the plane accident intentionally. Now she doesn't, right? I was wrong about that, but I almost thought she was going to for revenge on her boss.
Yeah, I think there was a point in the movie, again, the first time I watched it, where I thought that might be the case, and that, like, there'd be a big revelation later that she did something. But no, I just think it was kind of like a nice, like, way just to explain, like, oh, how this is how, like, she's gonna, like, survive on the island, and why she's gonna, like, be thriving there, because this is basically what, her dream is, what she's been working for, as just kind of like a nice, circumstance that it all kind of happens. What's kind of funny is, like, I don't know if I was gonna say that I thought she would be like the villain. Like, I definitely thought that, like, the tables, like, obviously, I mean, that's the premise of the movie, that the tables would turn and that she would have power over, this guy, but I wasn't really sure exactly, how far it would go. And it's interesting because, throughout most of the movie, even if she is exerting more power or, whatever, like, I never, like, feel sorry for the guy or anything. Like, he's still, like, obviously, like, a jerk and deserves everything that's coming to him. There's only really, like, one, like, a very notable like, turning point towards, I guess, when maybe we're starting to get into, like, the last act of the movie or something, where, she does something that's, like, truly, like, villainous. That's kind of like, oh, like, now it feels like the tables really have, like, fully turned at this point. But, and I don't know, I feel like there'll be, like, a lot to discuss when we get there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first things first is the opening chunk. It's the introduction to her at work and how timid she is, and she is, she's got like the awkward long skirt on. She's very frumpy. Hair's kind of messy.
Well, sorry, but you say she's timid. I would actually disagree. I actually think she's very outgoing. It's just like she's almost too like in your face that like, because she's constantly like approaching people and talking to them.
Okay, timid's maybe not quite the right word, but what I mean by that is that while she does try and talk to people, whenever they blatantly just kind of ignore her or say something to shut her down, she never really responds to it. She just kind of ignores it in a weird way. So she never confronts anyone, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that's what I meant by timid.
Sure.
But
okay, I get you.
Yeah, but yeah, she like the example we get early on is this guy's like getting a report off of her that she's done she's done extra legwork on. She's put in extra hours to make sure it has all this extra information. And then he tells her that she's not going to the meeting. He'll just present it. But don't worry, your name's right here. But when he points at the name, it's on like a post-it note stuck to it. And I'm like, yeah, that seems very easy to just peel that off. I feel like maybe you should have put your name on the actual text, perhaps, to make sure everyone knew. And of course, she witnesses him take it off and throw it in the trash. And that's like, hey, this is the first man who's condescending to her, who gaslights her, and says good job and says she's amazing, but also wants to get away from her as quickly as humanly possible. But she's under the impression that she's getting a promotion because the guy who used to run this place promised her one. But unfortunately for her, his son is going to be the one actually in charge. And when he's told that he's supposed to promote her, he says, no, I'm promoting my friend who I play golf with. I'm not doing that. Yeah, she's disgusting, right? Because there's a whole sequence where he's introduced to the office and she goes up and tries to shake his hand and talk to him. And one, she keeps talking to him for way too long. It's uncomfortable. And two, she's got tuna salad like dripping down the side of her face, which she actually gets on his hand by the end of the scene. So,
which again, like I know it's like over the top and a bit cartoony, but I do think they do a good job of like I don't want to say like unlikable, because like like as an audience I like this character, but in real life I could see this person like being kind of annoying to be around, because it's like when she like confronts the boss, it's like she is like talking too long, even though he's obviously not interested, and she's like doing like all these like kind of dumb corny jokes that like no one's really getting, and then like she has to like repeat herself, and if someone doesn't know what she's like talking about, she has to be like, oh, what do you mean, like, oh, come on, that's the best, blah blah blah. And then like and again I think like Sam Raimi like just frames this stuff really well. Like he like I don't know, like when she's eating the tuna sandwich, and then like she has to quickly like shove it in her desk, and like it gets stuck like in the door, just like the squish and the close up, like it's all really gross, which in turn I think is funny. And then I don't know, like I mean, you're saying like the humor doesn't work for you, but like to me like all this stuff was like really funny, and then like him just focusing and zooming in on that like piece of tuna fish and just having this kind of like twitch in his eye, and just knowing like how much like this disgusts him, like I don't know, like that stuff is all working for me. I'm already like think it's like pretty funny.
So this is why this is a tough review, because I just didn't think it was funny. I have no reason to give you really beyond just I thought it was a bit, I don't know, like she's so over the top. It's not like a subtle thing where she like accidentally spills a bit of tuna on him. It's like there the whole time. He's clearly uncomfortable by it. The camera's like zooming in. I mean, see when he gets into his office and he asks the guy who's kind of like, I don't know if like, he works for him, I guess, but the president from 24. He's like, like, what was this in my hand? And he's like, I don't know. And he's like, smell it. And he's like no.
Smell it.
And they're like, you heard me, smell it. And I'm like, okay, so I guess we're establishing that he is a bit of a dick as far as bosses go. And the guy does go in to smell it, and we get this weird like close up of like the nose coming down, or like going, or even the nose. It's like that. It's like a POV of the nose going down to the hat. It was weird, right? It was over the top. It was very Sam Raimi. It was like very accentuated, which is fine.
I mean, it's we use this word a lot, but like I feel like it is very cartoony. But I mean, that's kind of Sam Raimi's MO, you know. But I feel like that is something you see in a cartoon. Like, yeah, they would just do a big close up to the, nose doing this big exaggerated sniff. Which, yeah, again, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But like to me, it's like, oh, this is like, this is a more interesting way to do this than, just having like a, regular shot or whatever where he's just sniffing his hand.
That's fair.
Did you notice like the little I don't know if you'd call it like an Easter egg or whatever, but he has like a picture of his dad in the background, and it's Bruce Campbell. So I guess they're saying that he was the former boss or whatever.
I did not notice that. That's a nice touch. That's a nice touch. I did not see that. So yeah, I mean, it sets this up, and she finds out she's not getting the promotion because the woman who works behind her is like doing like the newsletter or something, and she's like announcing that this guy's the new vice president, which she thought she was going to get that role. So she storms into his office when he's like interviewing like an attractive woman for a job, and he's saying like the typical creepy, like, are you going to go above and beyond for this position? And we're going to find out in a minute that he's engaged. So I mean, I don't know like how seriously he's actively trying to flirt here, but either way, like Rachel McAdams comes storming in. She's like, hey, I really need to speak to you. And he's like, okay, fine, we'll talk, open door policy. What is this? Are you mad you didn't get a promotion? And he basically says, look, I need someone who's a people person, who can close deals, who can, and he doesn't quite say, look better, but like he kind of alludes to it a little bit, and it's all very kind of and I guess if I was to give the movie a compliment, I would say that it's interesting that while he has been a douchebag, especially the whole giving the job to someone like he plays golf with, because it's just favoritism, and also obviously the way he seems to be treating other women who he finds attractive versus her. There is like something to be said about her people skills not actually being that great, and that a VP does have to actually, get up in front of people and talk to them. And if everyone's just like awkward and bored the entire time, it's not going to be very effective. There is actually somewhere in here, there's like some valid points to kind of sift through. But of course, they're still, making fun of her. They're still doing all this stuff. And eventually they're going to be sitting laughing, watching her Survivor audition video on the plane and cackling and, saying, oh, look how lame she is and how pathetic she is. And I mean, they don't say that out loud, but that's the vibe of the scene,
Right, yeah.
So, yeah. But, yeah, so she's livid, and he basically challenges her to prove that she's got the goods. So she ends up taking the initiative to come to this trip on the plane.
Yeah, I do like the one little like compliment it gives her is like, you know what, it took balls to like, come into, the office here, which like it's kind of funny because like even that is like, in kind of a douchey way. Even just like the fact of just being like, oh yeah, you need like manly balls or whatever to do anything around here. So then, yeah, his whole thing is like, okay, why don't you like prove to me that, your value or whatever, which like, it's annoying because even before like the other, 24 president guy was even saying to him like, oh, she's like, the backbone of this company, like, your father relied on her and, she's a workhorse and blah, blah, all this stuff. And he's just very dismissive and is like, nah, like, my friend Donovan, she'll catch him up to speed, which like no way that can happen. Like it doesn't, like he's not the kind of, his friend, is not the kind of guy that I feel like can just learn how to do the job. He's just always gonna like rely on people to do it for him. Which I think is what makes and like you're saying, so like, the whole big thing is like, oh, they're taking this trip to, I think it said like Beijing or something, for, I don't know, their consulting firm, which I don't really know exactly, like what they're consulting on or whatever, but they're taking this big trip, and then, yeah, like you're saying, they're watching her Survivor audition tape, which again is very like cheesy and like, I don't want to say pathetic, but like, yeah, it is definitely like played for laughs and stuff. but obviously it's not like something you should, be making fun of someone, for. And then,
I mean, yeah, I was just saying they thought it was pathetic. I wasn't necessarily voicing my opinion on it.
No, I know. No. Yeah, I agree. But that is to say, though, all of this, I think, just makes like the next scene, like once the plane starts going down, so satisfying to see, like all these people. Like, I mean, obviously, like the pilot and the flight attendants and stuff, like don't really deserve what's coming to them, but yeah, like all the stuff that happens with like the other jerks in the office is so much fun, and that's like, kind of peak Raimi for me, in this scene.
Yeah, I mean, Dylan O'Brien just happens to be already sitting down, so he straps in quite easily once there's a bit of turbulence. Mm-hmm. And he makes fun of the others for freaking out a little bit, and he calls them a pussy. Mm. But then when it happens even harder and some of them go flying up into the ceiling of the plane, he screams like a little girl. He chastises one of them for being a scaredy cat and then immediately gets terrified himself. The big set piece here, though, is more the one guy, the one who stole our report and like claimed it was his own. He is basically getting dragged out of a hole that forms in the side of the plane, and he grabs on to her legs because she's sitting further back and she was strapped in, and he's sort of climbing up, and she's holding on to him. But then, like halfway through, like or not halfway through, but like a little bit into it, he's like, "Quick, give me your seat," and I'm like, "Wait, what?" How do you expect her to swap places with you in this current predicament, my man? Yeah. How's that going to work? The selfishness is knowing no bounds here. It's not even logical in this case, never mind selfish.
Yeah, it's like such an asshole move because it's not even like, hey, hold on to me, or like, let me share this with you. It's like, no, literally switch places with me. Yeah, which is just such like, a dirtbag move. And to the point where he's like choking her, which again, I don't see how that is going to like solve anything. So then she has to like grab some like silverware that's sliding down the aisle and stab him, which then causes him to fly out the window. By
that point, there's another guy grabbing onto his legs as well. So two of them go flying out the hole inside of the plane. And then because his tie gets stuck where the hole is, I think it's his tie anyway. He kind of keeps
suspender, I think.
Yeah, he keeps banging his face against her window, and he's still alive and saying, "Please do something," and she just shuts the blind. The fork thing though, the stabbing him in the hand with a fork, I think that's worth mentioning that moment, because that feels to me like the foreshadowing that she is capable of getting violent. Now, obviously,
sure,
in the context of the scene, you could read this as this is the first time she's ever done anything like this, because it's a moment of extreme peril and extreme scenario. However, in retrospect, it's kind of a hint that she is capable of doing this kind of thing. So, it's like setting up for later in a way that doesn't feel like it's screaming at you too much, which is good. So, yeah, the plane goes down in the water.
Yeah, and then there's so much like, I don't know, stuff that reminds me of like Evil Dead gags or something, because there's just lots of like gore and chaos, and like when the other guy's grabbing on to Donovan's like leg or whatever, he's like smashing him in the face and like the teeth are flying out, and then it's just very like dark and comedic again when he's like his strap is like caught to the plane and his head's just banging on the window and she just slowly slides it down. Like that's also funny to me. And then I really like just the way he shoots it, like when the plane is going down, it just kind of like starts to focus in on Rachel McAdams, and then like everything like goes black around her. I just thought that like looked really cool, and again, that's just kind of like, oh, like this definitely feels like the horror Sam Raimi that I know and love.
You know and love. So they crash in the water. She's on her own really. She gets she washes up and she's kind of wandering around and whatnot for a bit. Finds him like unconscious, Dylan O'Brien, and he's unconscious. His legs hurt, and she kind of immediately almost right away goes into montage mode of like, okay, I'm going to start, I'll build a little place for him to lie, and I'll start getting basic preparations and looking around for stuff. I'll find some fruit. Like she's, obviously it kind of set it up, but the idea here very much is, oh, now she's like the one with skills because she's been so into like preparing for this type of scenario that she starts being very capable and useful and knowing what she's doing. And and if anything, honestly, as much as I'm saying the movie's too long, I actually think that some of the early like time skips feel a bit too rushed. There's a moment not too far after this where he says, "Oh, we've been here like 2 weeks," and I'm like, "Wait, what? You've been here for 2 weeks? I didn't realize that this was a 2 weeks already." Yeah, I mean, obviously this early stuff is just kind of setting up like, yeah, she's capable, she's making stuff, she's finding supplies, and he's kind of waking up and asking questions eventually. And notably, he's disgusted at the idea of eating fish that she's caught and cooked with a fire. And I'm like, dude, this is like one of the nicer things you could probably eat here, right? Like,
yeah.
compared to the bugs that he's stuffing in his mouth later, because it does some role reversals later where he's got like a bug stuck in his teeth, and it's kind of mirroring the scene where he first met her later on. It even repeats some of the dialogue, so they're kind of pointing out that it's the type of scene but reversed. But there's some key things that are set up here, right? Is that she's very capable, he's not. He's kind of at her mercy, although he doesn't realize that right away. He kind of challenges it multiple times, and she kind of answers in response, which is when he first kind of throws a bit of a fit about something and says, "Hey, I'm still your boss, remember who you're talking to." She just leaves him for like 2 days, and he sits there just his legs still hurt, so he can barely walk, and he can't find food, he can't find water. He's like yelling and begging by the end of it until she comes back, and it's like, hey, lesson's been learned. And I'm like, she is wielding so much power here versus like his skills. It's unreal. So so a bit of a power fantasy shift in that sense.
Yeah, and I really like that first scene where she leaves, and just the way like they're showing him, he's just like, she'll be back, and then kind of just like keeps like panning across him, like as like the day or days or whatever are going on, and it's just like slowly showing him like go mad. It's really fun, and again, I really like the way he's acting it up. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in these early scenes, and then if anything, it might be a little hard to like keep some of the scenes in order.
I don't think we'll be going entirely in order from here, because it's just like, because it's like, again, because so much of it's in the same type of locations, it's hard to maybe separate them a little bit in your head without taking ample notes.
But like you were saying though, I like the scenes where we see like how he's trying to survive on his own, and it's just like so pathetic. Like the stuff he builds like falls apart. He can't catch any food. He resorts to like trying to eat a cockroach and stuff, and then he even like tries to spell out like help on the beach with like sticks or whatever, and he misspells it. I thought that was funny. So yeah, I thought there's like a lot of good like stuff in these like early scenes.
The big thing is that when he does start to kind of appreciate what she's doing, and that she can provide food, and she knows how to do stuff like make a fire, like check for what berries are poisonous, and just other basic skills. I mean, at one point she starts sharpening a spear to go hunting, so we'll get to that in a second. But notably, she goes wandering around the island and like gets to the other side and sees a boat, like a search boat that's obviously looking for them, and she makes the conscious choice to be like, no, I'm not ready to go back. Like, I'm actually enjoying this new life and my power. Again, I'm adding lines here, but she makes the choice to not, she hides from the boat, and she doesn't tell him that she saw potential rescue. And that's like, okay, that set her up at least somewhat as the villain, even if he's a complete dick, and he is a complete dick a lot of the time. She has made this choice, which feels like, oh, we're going down a path where she's going to become more and more like obsessed and dependent on this scenario that she's found herself in.
But I think it does like a good job of like showing why she's not exactly ready to leave yet. Like at this point, I don't like, I understand that that's the path we're going on, but she doesn't really feel like too villainous here to me. Like, to me, it kind of feels like, oh, okay, like, it's nice to know that, yeah, there's rescue here, but like, I just want to play this out a little bit just to show like my worth and to kind of ensure that, yeah, when we get back, or if we get back or whatever, that, like, I'll be appreciated and maybe things will be better in the office. Like, I don't know, I still got like a bit more of that vibe going on then, as opposed to like later, yeah, like, more and more as it goes on, then she's turning into like full like, no, we can never leave the island, like, at that point, she's kind of becoming more of the villain. But here it still seems like, a little less like, I guess like wicked intentions or whatever. But
you can maybe argue not wicked intentions, but I'm going to fight you a little bit here in the sense that this is a super selfish choice, and at this moment, she literally does not know that if she passes up the chance to be rescued now, they literally might never be found, because she doesn't know where they are. So if I was trapped on an island and I found out the other person had a chance to get us rescued and chose because they felt like it to not do so, I would probably want to kill them.
Well, the thing I would push back on you is that later on, because we only see this kind of short snippet of it, but when she talks about it later on, she says that later, like, she followed the boat to this house, and to me, it's like,
well, yeah, okay. But she makes the choice before she finds the house, though. Like, she like chooses to hit, because when we see that snippet early on, she hides behind the tree and she says, "I'm not ready yet." And yes, after that, she goes and finds the house when the house is a big reveal later on. But she made the choice in that moment before she even saw the house.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, this is, at the very least, this is a super selfish choice and a potentially dangerous choice.
Sure.
And again, I'm not saying that she is worse than him necessarily at this point. He's a selfish prick. Like, that has been heavily established at this point. And he's still going to show signs of that throughout, which almost at a certain point, like, you can kind of enjoy her flipping the tables on him, but when she gets so villainous, it's like, okay, who am I actually rooting for at this point? Because he's kind of a prick, and she's kind of off the deep end now.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because even, like, if you're jumping to the end when she's kind of, a full-on villain or whatever, like, I don't know. I guess I'm still rooting for her because, yeah, like, I don't think, I don't know, maybe it's bad to say, but yeah, I like very seldom do I ever really feel like sympathy for Dylan O'Brien's character. I guess maybe like a little bit, like, yeah, maybe like, yeah, I don't want him to die or something, but I'm still never like, okay, he's the hero now,
Oh yeah, and he never becomes a hero, but he definitely becomes the victim. I think there's a
sure.
there's a line there that I think does get correct. It's weird. Like, obviously, it wants to do the whole, like, it is very much like a power fantasy. The woman's been scorned. She's going to completely flip the tables. But arguably, like, I don't know. Like, I almost think going the path that it does go on maybe doesn't help with, like, the more nuanced points that it could be making. If because I think arguably the best scene in the movie to me for, like, the themes that it's playing with, and this idea of her flipping the tables and her now being the one in charge, right, is there's a scene somewhere in the middle-ish where he once again has said a bunch of stuff, right? He basically fires her. He says, "Okay, that's it, you're fired. When we get back, you're out of the office. Like, I don't want you around anymore. You're the worst." And she's like, "Fine, I guess you'll just fend for yourself." So it's kind of similar to earlier on where she leaves him for a couple of days. Now he's kind of limping around a little bit, and he tries to do stuff himself, but he constantly fails. Like, she's making herself fancy hats and backpacks at this point, and she's made herself, like, lotions out of stuff and flowers, and he's, like, getting attacked by flies, and he's trying to, like, cut down bits of wood, and he's failing miserably. He's doing awful. And after all this, he comes crawling back to apologize. And he even says she looks nice. And arguably, yeah, she does noticeably look better than the start of the movie. It feels like she's kind of blossomed out here, right? She's radiating joy in a weird way. he goes back to her and he's begging for forgiveness basically, and he's like, I'm sorry, and she's like, what, for what exactly? He's like, for everything, for the way I talked to you in the office, for the way I acted here, this and this. And she throws the line back in his face that he said to that woman that he was interviewing back in the office, which was, are you going to be willing to go above and beyond and do anything, for me? And there's an awkward pause, and he starts taking his shirt off, and he gets like so far, and then she says, "Oh, I'm kidding. I would never make you do that. I'm kidding." And I think that moment's very interesting to me because it's the most raw it ever feels, where she just says that line, and it's very telling that he immediately assumes that means that she wants to have sex with him.
Right.
Like, it's wildly telling, because you said that to a potential employee earlier in the movie, and now someone said it to you in a position of power. You immediately jump into the conclusion that, well, clearly I'm going to have to, whore myself out for this. Like, this is clearly what's been asked of me here. So it does paint a picture into him, which is why I don't think he's, like you said, I don't think you can ever totally sympathize with him, because, and even for all the other things he's done and said in the movie, I think this moment's the moment where you go, oh, you know exactly what you were saying earlier on when you said that. You weren't just like being bad at flirting or being slightly inappropriate. You knew exactly what you were implying when you said that, because it's exactly what you think right now. And I think this moment is maybe the most I ever liked the writing, was this little back and forth between them that referenced that earlier scene.
Yeah, no, that was a really good scene.
All right, moving on. So that sets up that she saw potential rescue. We don't know about the house yet. That's a reveal later. But they do kind of after that point start to get better. Like she lets him eat, because by this point she's like got a little buffet laid out, and she's like using makeshift chopsticks, and she's like, it looks like a fine dining experience almost. And he digs in, and he's having a grand old time. And they basically start to feel like a more of a domestic couple at this point, where they're working together. Vibes seem mostly okay. Like, things seem like they're being productive. He still clearly wants to leave, ultimately, and she doesn't. But other than that, they're working well enough as a team. And she's even teaching him some stuff, like teaching him how to, check if this berry's poisonous, or check this or that. But however, she specifically says when she's showing him around now that he can walk a little bit better, see those rocks that look like an X? Yeah, don't go past there. It's all poison ivy and thorns and stuff. Like, you're going to get jabbed, so don't go that way. And I'm like, okay, I'm at very least assuming
something's there.
Yeah, I'm at least assuming that's where maybe she's seen multiple boats pass by there, and it's like, oh, that don't let them see that, because that's like a popular shipping route or something. Or something else, which it turns out to be. It turns out to be the house, obviously.
Yeah, like I think in my mind, which I feel like I've seen this done in like movies a couple of times, where like I thought that, yeah, if you just like go past those rocks or something, there would be like a hotel or like something. I
mean, it's similar to that, really. Yeah, ultimately.
Yeah, it's not far off. Yeah. So that was like obviously very telling. But yeah, there's definitely like some good stuff going on here. Again, like it's interesting kind of seeing them vibe and stuff, which I guess we skipped over the boar hunting scene. Oh yeah,
the CG boar, because that's the one. He's still off his feet when she's like making the spear and she goes off to hunt the boar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Sam Raimi got all the blood hitting her face and in her mouth that he wanted, because he loves doing that. But the boar is super, it's like, I mean, it's high quality enough, but it's very clearly CG the entire time,
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely pretty noticeable, but I mean, at the same time, it's like, well, obviously you can't really use a real boar and, or whatever, so... And that I think the scene is still fun despite the obvious CGI-ness of it all. Like it is very gory, and I like that it is very like over the top and gross. Like, it's not just blood. He also has like all this snot and stuff coming out of his nose, and she's like stabbing him with sticks like through his eye and like the side of his head and everything. It's like very like gruesome and visceral, and like you're saying, she's just getting just doused in blood, which is another one of Raimi's MOs. So yeah, it sucks that it's so obviously CGI. But other than that, though, I think the scene is still a pretty fun scene.
Yeah, I mean, once you start stabbing it in the eye and the eyeballs like dangling out, like there's at least some over the top qualities to like get out of it. So yeah, the big turning point though is that once things seem to be quite happy, she notably, even though it's not like a tense thing, it's very subtle. Well, it's not subtle to us, but I think it's subtle in the context to him, but he's noticing it, is that she won't let him, when he says he's going to go for a walk, because he wants to just get stretch his legs and explore once he's feeling better, she's like, oh, I'll come with you, I could use the exercise, but it feels like, oh, you don't want to leave him alone wandering. Like, you're worried that he's going to stumble places you don't want him to find. So, the tension starts to build, and he's like secretly doing stuff when she's asleep, and that ends up being a raft that he tries to escape on. And then he drugs her. He volunteers to make her food. He drugs her, and then he tries to run away in his raft, but he only gets like maybe 50 feet before a wave like sends him crashing back.
Yeah. But I think it's before because before that scene, we have the scene where she makes like the prison wine or whatever, and they basically have because I think I'm getting that in order, right? Because it's that scene, and then the next scene is like when he drugs her.
Oh, yeah, you may be right. Yeah, that may come first. Yeah, that's where they reveal some of her backstory stuff. Yeah,
and because I think that's what, like, yeah, he's probably like a little freaked out before then, but I think this is when he gets really freaked out, and I think this is another like really good scene where they both kind of they're getting like a little drunk off this like island wine that she's made, and then they kind of both like open up a little bit, and it's interesting because I feel like maybe again, not that he's ever the most sympathetic character, but this is probably an instance where maybe you do feel like a little bit for him when he's kind of talking about like like as much like he admits that he's an asshole, but also like the way he grew up with his parents, like it was hard not to be, and there wasn't a lot of love in his family, and his mother was abusive, and then she also opens up with how she used to be married, and she also suffered abuse from like her ex-husband, and then kind of goes into like this dark backstory, which I really wasn't expecting, where she's like she kind of like, I guess in a way kind of killed him because they were having like this drunk argument, and she said like, oh, whenever he got too drunk, I would always hide his keys, and then one night he went too far, and I didn't hide them, and basically implying that she kind of knew what was going to happen, and he ends up dying, but then like it gets like really dark, and it seems like he's kind of like freaked out a bit, and then I think that's when she says like, I think we should never leave this island, and I think that's like what really instills like that fear in him, and when he's like, okay, I really gotta get going.
Yeah, he's because he's sort of watching her very intently. She's saying this story, and she says she's never told anyone that, and he says it's okay, but you can sort of see in his eyes, he's like, shit, I'm alone with this woman who, I mean, murder is a strong word, but certainly tipped the odds in the favor of her husband dying, regardless of how bad he was. So it's like, okay, all right, so that maybe further motivates him to do his plan, which is he's going to drug her and then try and run away on a raft, which does not work very well. And she retaliates because she drags him out of the water when he needs CPR. And as she's giving him CPR, she vomits all over him. That's the vomit scene I was alluding to earlier.
Yeah, because she's still suffering from like the poison from the berries he gave her. So, I mean, it's very gross, but also, I think that's, it's kind of funny that it's like, oh, the person giving you CPR is also like cannot stop vomiting. It's just, that's very gross to think about.
Mm-hmm. So her thing is the next day, once he's up a little bit, she's made him some food, but she says she's not eating because she still feels queasy from the attempted poison. And he's like, oh yeah, sorry. But as soon as he asked that question and she gave an excuse, I'm like, oh, she's probably given him something. And she is. Something that paralyzes him temporarily. And basically says that Egyptians used to castrate the slaves so they'd be more obedient, and pulls out her knife and is basically threatening to do that. And she's like, he can't feel anything, so he's got tears running down his face. He's in, I say he's in pain. He's not physically in pain, but he's obviously like feeling tortured right now, thinking what's happening. And we see blood squirt up into his face and into her face, and then she reveals that she's actually just cutting into a rat. And then leans in and whispers to him, next time it won't be a rat. So I'm like, okay, she's threatening violence now, and she's asserting dominance, and it's super, grisly. And it's like, okay, and this is where things really take a turn, because this is where she goes exploring again, and when she gets back to that other side, where the boats sometimes are, she gets spotted by a boat, and it's actually his fiancée, who we briefly met back in the scene in the office after we talked to Rachel McAdams about why she didn't get the promotion. And she's like, "Oh, I came. Even the search is finished, but I rented my own boat. I've got my pilot here, and or my captain, I should say. I got my captain here, and we're looking at is he here? Is my fiance here?" And she's like, "Yeah, she's here." And this is obviously putting her in this position where she's like, "Well, I guess I'm leading them back to him, but I'm also going to take them on this route that goes round this really dangerous cliff." For the convenience of possibly killing them. And she does. I mean, it actually doesn't confirm it here. It kind of cuts to black when she has the choice of maybe like doing it, because the fiance slips and the captain's like holding on to her and asking for help, and it cuts to black on McAdams' face, and then she just shows up back to Dylan O'Brien and she's on her own. So you can kind of assume that it's happened. But it's later on when she's explaining how she found the house that she also admits, "Oh yeah, I like killed them. I hit them over the head." I mean, we know that by that point because he finds the fiance's like body buried somewhere. Although she didn't do a very good job, because the fiance's arms sticking out with the engagement ring, like she's like a zombie trying to get out of the ground.
I mean, my guess was like I don't know if she just buried her very shallowly, and then maybe the warthog or whatever, like
the elements
dug it up.
Yeah
but yeah, it is like just a full-on like comic book just out there. But I don't know, this is such like an interesting turn, because again, we know she's like going down this path, but I never thought that she would like actively like murder someone. I mean, I thought maybe it might come to that with Dylan O'Brien or whatever, but like the fiance seems innocent enough. Like we didn't really get much of her, but that opening scene, like I don't know, she didn't seem like that bad. Like maybe she was snickering a little bit when Rachel McAdams leaves or whatever, but we don't really know much about her. And then the captain of or pilot or whatever that she's with, like was very innocent. So I think it's an interesting, turn for the character to, it's not like she, throws him off the cliff or whatever, but, she certainly had the opportunity, like when it kind of gives way and they're dangling, like she could have easily helped them pull him up and didn't, which is, is essentially pretty much like letting him die, So I don't know, like I'm still not really sure exactly how I feel about her becoming like that villainous, but I mean it works for the movie, but I don't know, it's interesting. I feel like there's a lot to think about there.
It's weird to say this because obviously it's a horror movie podcast and it's a Sam Raimi movie and all that, but I almost think it would be more interesting if it wasn't as this like just blatant and over the top. Like I almost think it would be better if there was just this tension that kept building and you think maybe one of them might be willing to kill the other, but it never actually like necessarily, like at least until the very end, ever got to that point. I think the fact that she's killed two people before we go into the third act where like their fight properly like happens, I think it's like, well, I already know she's a killer. I already know she's over that line, so it's less, I don't know. I feel like I might have enjoyed it more if I didn't know she was capable of that entirely until, like, the actual showdown, if you will.
Yeah, or like, I don't know, like, maybe if there was something where, like, at the last minute she decides, like, I can't do this or whatever, and she does try to save him, but like it's too late or something something like that, where it shows like, yeah, like she's not actively trying to murder them or whatever. Maybe like something like that would work a little better. Like yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit of an odd choice. Like I wouldn't say like it ruins the movie for me. I don't know if I hate the choice, but it is like something I'm still kind of thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd say ruins, but I'm pretty lukewarm on it, and I do wonder if there was a more interesting choice that I would feel more intrigued by, something that would make me more excited about the potential of what's coming up. Whereas this was just kind of like, oh, we're confirming maybe a bit early that she's capable of this kind of thing. So a lot of the intrigue, like basically what I'm getting out of the stuff that comes after this now is just kind of how absurd the fight actually is, where they're biting at each other and trying to gouge eyes out and whatever else like that. The absurdity of that is kind of the entertainment at that point for me, as opposed to they're both willing to actually go this far kind of thing.
Before we get that to there though, just want to mention real quick, so she gets back and like she's very like morose and stuff, so it's obviously like affecting her and weighing down on her. And then I'm assuming that you didn't like the scene, but we have like a dream sequence where like she wakes up on the island and she's hearing
the ghost of the fiance coming out of the water.
Which I mean, complaining, I feel like we complain about dream sequences a lot, but I don't know, this actually worked for me. I thought it was funny. And again,
Sam Raimi did it, so it's okay.
I mean, I just love like Evil Dead and so much, and then just like it's kind of like maybe a cheap jump scare, but just seeing like this melty face zombie like popping up behind her was like, I don't know, it's just giving me that Evil Dead vibe, so I enjoyed it.
Okay. He goes wandering though, like the next day or whatever, and he ends up finding the hand sticking out of the thing. So he confronts her about it. He's got the engagement ring from his dead fiance's hand, and he's like, "Hey, did you kill her?" And they finally have this confrontation, which leads to a chase. But she has the knife, though, is the thing, right? And I want to actually point this out, is that there was earlier on when she was using the knife to cut something earlier on, I actually said, where did she get that knife? Did she, like, that doesn't seem like something she would bring on the plane. Now, technically it was a private jet, so maybe you could sneak on something like a knife like that versus, a regular commercial plane. But the thought did occur to me, but I'm mentioning that because it is explained a little bit later where she got the knife from. So yeah, they have the fight. We kind of mentioned some of the main beats of it, which is the gouging, the biting, he gets stabbed.
Yeah, it's very brutal. Like, again, very over the top and gory, but there's a lot of fun stuff in it.
He yells at her with his face covered in blood and like swears and calls her a bitch or something like that. Like, there's just stuff like that.
She takes his fiance's ring, which we've seen it a couple of times. I thought it was just a nice little visual. Like, every time we saw the ring, it was just like over the top big, and there would always be like this big shine to it. Like, even when the rescue boat is coming, like part of the reason why we know it's hers because she's waving the distance and we're seeing like the ring shimmer. But during the fight scene, like she's just totally covered in blood and takes the ring and has it in her mouth and like swallows it, and she is like she feels like she's going like full crazy because she's like just like sticking her tongue out, going like but I thought it was like a good visual, like seeing that shiny big ring just in the center of this like woman who's just covered in all blood.
Yeah, he's not very thrilled that she got that off of him either. But he gets stabbed, so he goes sort of running away from her and the chase ensues, and this is where he finally gets to beyond that rock surface that looks kind of X, and he sees just a fancy vacation home that's built into the side of the cliff, and it's like, shit, this has been here the whole time. And he goes in, he's yelling for help, he's trying to find supplies, he gets some water out the fridge, and that's like a revelation. And then all of a sudden, Rachel McAdams starts talking over the intercom system in this house and says that, she found this the day that she saw a boat for the first time, and she broke in, right? She saw like the staff like use the number pad, so she gets in, and this is where she got the knife, because he opens the cutlery drawer, and the cutlery all matches the knife she has. But all the knives are gone. She's kept the knives for herself, so he can't get one. and we get like I guess maybe not quite a cat and mouse game. Like she's just kind of talking to him over the comms and explaining everything that happened that he didn't see, and filling in some of the blanks for us, confirming that she did indeed kill the fiance and the boat captain, and ultimately comes out eventually holding a shotgun pointed at Dylan O'Brien, which his tactic for combat in this is to try and play along and say, yeah, we should just stay here because like I love you, like I'm in love with you, I've realized this, and we can be happy here. And I did like, if I'm going to compliment a performance, I did like her performance here, where her face is covered in blood, the hair's kind of like all over her face as well. And she's like, that's what I've been saying. Like the way she kind of says that was quite a funny line, actually. Yeah. But
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, obviously this is just a ploy by him to try and get the upper hand. He tries to like attack her with like the horn off of like a statue thing that was in the room.
This is another interesting question, where like throughout the movie, did you ever feel like she was romantically like interested in him? Like, I don't know, because it's interesting. Like, there's definitely like a few moments where like, yeah, she sees him like, bathing, or like when they're in the cave. But I don't know if it's like, to me, it felt more like, I don't know if she's necessarily like falling in love with him.
To explain those moments you just brought up, so there's a moment where he's bathing out on like in the ocean, and she sort of sees him and he's naked, and she kind of turns around awkwardly when he turns around, and it's just a little thing, but she was staring a little bit. The other moment you mentioned there is that it's like a storm one night, and they go into the cave and they're cold, and he's like, hey, we need to share body heat, right? So they kind of hug, and that's kind of like an intimate moment. It feels like to me that it's not so much falling in love, although maybe she would eventually try and turn it into that, because hey, we're going to be here forever if she gets her way. But more just like there is kind of like he's this younger guy, he is in good shape, he goes after these attractive supermodel looking women, which she's trying to aspire to be. I think there is a sort of subtext throughout that she is attracted to him, and that's why she does make that line about, oh, will you do anything, will you go above and beyond for me, right? Even though she doesn't make him go through with it there, I think that is said because there is the sub layer of her feeling attraction towards him. So I think it's sprinkled evenly throughout that it's definitely intentional.
Like even in the beginning, before she meets him he's in the office, like when she's at home, like talking to her bird, she says something like, oh, and the boss's son is coming in tomorrow, the new boss, and I met him at the Christmas party and he was kind of cute and was flirting with me or something like that. So I guess there's already like a baseline of her like at least thinking that he's cute and stuff. It's just interesting because like his last ploy here at the end is to be like, okay, I'm gonna try to turn on the charm and tell her I love her and stuff, and she's maybe she's just playing along, or maybe she is actually into it. But I just think it's something interesting because while it definitely seemed like there's some like attraction there, it never felt like she was like, oh, this is a man of my dreams, I'm gonna make him fall in love with me or whatever. So I'm just wondering if like maybe also like I don't know if just like wanting him to stay on the island was more of like I kind of like having power over someone kind of thing.
I mean I think that's a part of it. Like I say, I wouldn't say it's love per se. It is more of like an attraction that's mixed in with this idea of having power over him, because that's kind of like he was in the office at the start, he was kind of like saying this to a female potential employee, and it was inappropriate, and there's this like enjoyment of being the ones in power, and like all the guys that he's hanging, when they got on the plane, and like the smarmy guy says to her, oh, you work too hard, as if, hey, you're supposed to be a a lady, you don't work too hard, like you're getting in the way by working too hard, stop it, that's interfering with our fun, stop it. So I think it's like I think she's attracted to like being in charge of him, and that I think would eventually somewhat turn sexual, but I don't think it's necessarily romantic love in the traditional sense.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, anyway, she goes along with it, but he attacks her with the horn, and he gets the gun. He actually just straight up says, "Time to die, bitch," or something to that effect. I can't remember what the exact line was.
He says, I think it's like, it's time to die, bitch, from accounting.
Yeah, something like
which,
that. Yeah,
it's gonna come into play because then, yeah, when she turns the table on him, she reminds him that she's not from accounting, she's from like strategic planning or something like that.
Yeah, but the gun's actually empty, and then she hits him multiple times with a golf club, which, to be fair, is set up earlier on. One of the examples he gives as to why she can't be a VP, he's describing the sort of things she'd have to be able to do. You have to be able to schmooze with people, maybe play golf, implying that you make deals when you're playing golf with potential clients or whatever. So her killing him with a golf club, right? So she hits him multiple times with a golf club. He's like, oh shit, I'm going to lose now. And she lines up a shot as if she's going to hit his head like a golf ball. And it does a smash cut on the impact of the club to her hitting an actual golf ball. And she's all cleaned up. Mm-hmm. She's dressed up as a golf player. And it's a year later, and it turns out that she made it off the island. She's the sole survivor. And she wrote a book about her experience. And she's kind of a semi-celebrity now. It maybe runs the company. Because, obviously Dylan O'Brien's not running it anymore. And the fact that she's playing golf is kind of like this, she dominated in this man's world. She took what was his, and now she's the one on top. And this was like sort of him reaping what he sowed. And I like that kind of dark comic satire vibe of it. I like that idea of like, she took his life, and I could do without her looking at the camera at the end, when she says something.
Yeah, that's like a little weird. Like, yeah, that stuff on the golf course, I think is a fun ending. And then, like you're saying, I love the smash cut. Like, it's like right as it's impacting his face to go into the golf ball. But yeah, like after that, just ends with her like driving away in the car with a bird, and she's singing the song that she mentioned before that was like her karaoke
song. Gonna get you one way or another. Yeah.
Or another. I feel like I just heard that in like another movie I just watched too. I don't remember, but but then she does this like weird turn to camera while she's doing it, like almost like it kind of looks like her face, it kind of looks like she's looking at the audience like, I see you, like right before it ends. I know it's kind of,
she's looking at the audience, she's saying, I'll come for you, like if you mess with me, kind of that. I mean, it's whatever. I think I like the themes that it's trying to play with. I like the idea of her flipping the tables and it being like this darkly funny of like, oh, you messed with the wrong woman and she tortured you, she played you like a fiddle and then ultimately killed you, and she took everything for herself. I like that, and I like the dark comedy aspect of that. I just think I would have preferred it with someone other than Sam Raimi's sense of humor guiding it. Like, I think, I mean, who would I have liked more to do this? I don't know. It's tough to pick a specific director for that, or a specific writer even.
Bryan Singer?
Definitely not Bryan Singer. No. No. I don't know. Like, I could see the Yorgos Lanthimos version of this story being in a banger.
Oh, sure.
I could see that being an absolute banger.
Yeah. I mean, I do like. I could see that being a good vehicle for him, but I still. Obviously I'm more of a Raimi head, but I still thought Raimi was kind of a perfect fit for this. Like, again, I didn't really see how this would, fit to his sensibilities, but I actually thought it worked out really well. And again, joking around a bit, but yeah, ultimately it does come down to taste. And yeah, if that doesn't work for you, it's not gonna, be a banger. Like, I'm surprised that you're, like I thought, like there, a part of me thought that you might hate it, which, like you're saying, you're more lukewarm on it, which I was a little surprised, like, okay, it's like, it's better than you, like, just thinking it was like absolute garbage and stuff. But
no,
again, I love Raimi, and
Yeah, I can't say it's not garbage. I don't think it's garbage. I don't even think it's close to garbage. It's just, yeah, it's just something about the tone and the way that the humor, the sense of humor that Raimi has in his movies when they're not Evil Dead just does not click with me. And this is just another example of it where there's moments where instead of like liking the point that a scene's making, I'm kind of groaning at the attempt at humor or the slapsticky thing that he's thrown in. And ultimately, like, I think it's just a taste thing. Like, I'm not saying he should change how he directs things, because then it wouldn't be Sam Raimi. But it's just,
I mean, that's one of the things that I love about him, because he has, these kind of signature moves and humor and stuff to them. So that's why I'm a big fan. But yeah, if you don't like that aspect of him, then most of the stuff is not going to work. Even if it's like, you can see that it's not like a terrible movie if it's just not up to your taste. It's not gonna get you too excited. Because my complaints about McAdams' character, particularly early on, being too cartoonish, that's a complaint I have with some of his other movies. I think some of his characters, even in his Spider-Man movies, are a little too one-note and cartoonish, and that's kind of like something that takes me out of those. Obviously it varies from movie to movie a little bit, depending on what movie we're looking at. But I wish I was more enthusiastic. I do, but I can't. Ultimately, this does come down to taste. I think it's a perfectly fine movie that I just don't feel that strongly about. So. Hey. I mean, opposite ends here, because it's it really worked for me. I had a lot of fun with it. I've seen it multiple times, and again, like, as a again, I'm a big Raimi fan, but it's something where it's probably been so long since he's come out with one that's like really hit for me, because I feel like it's because the one before this would have been Doctor Strange, which again I thought I liked and had its moments, but it's not like the perfect Raimi vehicle I was hoping for. And again, a lot of that I think came with like MCU fatigue and all that stuff. But then I think before that would have been Oz, which again was bad, and that was probably like at least 10 or more years ago. So
that was ages ago.
So it feels like it's been a long time since there's like a Raimi movie that like really got me excited. So to me, this kind of felt like a return to form. And again, I'm glad that he wasn't doing something that was like another like franchisey thing or whatever, even though I do like him in that mode. But it was cool that he was like kind of just taking on this random like smaller level horror thing. So I was really happy with it. Did you hear what he's doing next? I don't know if you remember.
I mean, I didn't hear, but like I'm looking at his IMDb right now, so I see a couple of titles. I don't know which one you're referring to though.
I think they said his next project is going to be a remake of Magic, which was the like, is it that old like Anthony Hopkins ventriloquist horror movie?
Yeah, I don't see that here. The two movies that are listed as him directing upcoming are The King Killer Chronicle and World War III.
Okay, I haven't even heard of those, so
yeah.
Not sure about that.
World War III, it's worth mentioning, just says development unknown, meaning it's not even listed as pre-production, so that may just be a pie in the sky. Maybe he mentioned in an interview once that he wants to do it, and then it's never, went anywhere. Now, it is interesting that between, because Oz the Great and the Powerful was 2013, and then they didn't do anything else movie-wise until Doctor Strange 2. Like, in between that, he was doing, like, he did the pilot of Ash vs. Evil Dead. He did an episode of another TV show. He did a short film, but, like, it was weird. He kind of went a decade without making any movies there. Well, almost, anyway.
Yeah, which I wonder if, like, if that was on purpose or if he was in, like, movie jail for a bit. Like, I mean, he's a big name, but I think Oz was a pretty big flop, or at least not well received. So I don't know.
I mean, Yeah, the trinity of Spider-Man 3, Drag Me to Hell, and Oz the Great and the Powerful back to back to back. I don't know how much that did for his rep.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'll stick up for Spider-Man 3 and Drag Me to Hell, but yeah, Oz was not much going on there.
All right, Tim, let's do it. Rate Send Help out of 10.
Again, I love this movie. I had a blast with it. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's perfect. I do agree it's a bit overlong. Like, I don't know if I would say like you can cut it down to 90 minutes, but you could definitely do some trimming to get it down a bit. And then, yeah, maybe a few small things here and there, like some dodgy CGI and stuff. But I mean, not to the point where little criticisms, but it doesn't really have like a huge effect on my enjoyment of the movie. So I'm gonna go pretty high. I'm gonna give it an 8.5. I love that. I really have a blast. Again, I'm a Raimi fanboy, so I can make of that what you will. But I'm so glad my boy's back and is doing horror again, and yeah, super fun movie. I was really happy with it.
Yeah, I guess the diplomatic number to give it is just slap it with a 6 and call it a day. I think that's because I'm saying it's decent. It's I'm not saying it's mediocre. It's a little bit better than that. It's clearly is what it's trying to be. I have some like more objective things to say, like the CG in the board was pretty bad, or maybe they should have held back on her playing her villainous hand a little bit longer or something. But for the most part, it's just down to taste more than anything else, and I just feel very lukewarm. So lukewarm 6 out of 10, I think, is what I'm going with. So there you go. Sure. That's that. Otherwise, though, you can support us over on Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Help keep the show coming. Get access to the even more stream segments that we do most weeks, and the back catalogue of bonus episodes, of which there is another one either coming soon or has just came out, depending on if I've put it out before this one goes out. But Doom Asylum is the new episode. Either just came out or coming out soon. But regardless, go support us. Thanks to everyone who already does. It really does help keep everything coming. But that is the show. So thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, and we will see you next time.